Welcome to another edition of the Red Zone podcast. I'm your host, Emmanuel Point de Jour, and today we are previewing the Stampeders Week 4 matchup on Saturday against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And this is a very intriguing matchup because for Calgary, they're 1-1 coming off of a bye week. And we'll get to, how they've been playing these first 2 weeks. And then for Winnipeg side, the more weird side, it's they're 0-3. And we're going to get to why maybe they're 0-3 and some reasons. But first, let's start on Calgary's end. So they are 1-1, obviously coming in to week 4, had a bye in week 3, and they've been playing pretty good, at least offensively. Jake Maier, we talked about it in week 1. He looked efficient, and he carried that over to week 2, but there were a little bit more mistakes, and I think mistakes that are fixable, and that's what I said going into the bye we need to fix, is those easy little mistakes that we did in week 2 that kind of cost us the game against BC. And when you look at the stats for Jake Maier, it looks really good. You can't ask much more than what you're getting from Jake Maier this early in the season. He's 47 of 59, 591 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. And that 1 interception against BC really wasn't his fault. I mean, it went right through the hands of Dedrick Mills and fell into the hands of a BC Lions defender for an interception. So that really wasn't his fault. But you can't ask much more than what Jake Maier has given you. And he's also slinging that ball around, and it's to a bunch of different receivers. You got Dedrick Mills, who is the leading receiver as a running back, 118 yards on 8 receptions. You got Clark Barnes, who's the second leading receiver at 98 yards and a touchdown. You got Markin Michelle, 6'4", 92 and a touchdown. Jalen Philpott, 7 for 79. Eccles, 6 for 69 and a touchdown. And then Bagleton, 6 for 67 and a touchdown. So they're very, very close. And those touchdowns, 4 different receivers. So you love to see it. You love that he's going to different receivers and he's being very efficient. Only 12 incompletions in the first 2 weeks of the season. So let's hope that can continue in this matchup against Winnipeg. Not too many injuries to note here early in the year. And if there was, hopefully they got resolved in the bye week. Let's flip it over to Winnipeg now, because Winnipeg is going through some injury issues, and it starts with their receiving core. I mean, it's getting hampered. You got Kenny Lawler that went out in week 1, and that's on the 6-game injured list. You got Dalton Schoen, who went on the 6-game injured list, and now we're finding out he's going to be out for the season. So that really, really sucks for Winnipeg. You got Wheatfall, who I think went off for like 150 plus yards in their week 2 matchup against Ottawa. And, he's out 6 weeks, I think. So a lot of injuries on that receiving core. Brady Oliveira is not the healthiest, but he's playing. And so they're trying to get back on track. They don't seem like 0-3. I don't know if that makes sense, but they just don't. I mean, you look at Winnipeg, you think at what they've been for the last, 5 years, just top of the league. And when they lose, they always find ways to bounce back and get the victory. And it just feels like, you can't take Winnipeg with a grain of salt. You can't, come into this matchup saying, oh, Winnipeg's 0-3. No, you have to take them with the respect. Like, they are, 2-time Grey Cup champs in a period of 5 years. So you really have to take them, or 4 years, with the respect that they deserve, I think, over these last few years. But it will be a very interesting matchup to watch, the offenses and then how the defenses play. Obviously, for Calgary, they're going to need to improve on their defensive performance from week 2 against BC. They're going to have to win the trenches. They're going to have to get sacks on Zach Collaros, which teams against Winnipeg have been doing. So that's what Calgary's going to have to do. And also the offensive line protecting Jake Maier, because they allowed 4 sacks. They allowed BCD at 4 sacks on Jake, so that the protection is going to have to be a little bit better. But we'll see what we're in for in week 4, and we'll see if Calgary can improve to 2-1 and drop Winnipeg to 0-4, which would be crazy. It would tie them with Edmonton for last in the division. But we will see what's going to happen on Saturday. But that'll do it for this episode of the Red Zone podcast. Let me know your thoughts. Who do you think wins between Winnipeg and Calgary? Are you concerned with how Winnipeg is playing thus far? If you are a Winnipeg fan, let me know that in the comments down below. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend watching CFL games, and we'll be here next Wednesday to recap it all. But that'll do it. We'll see you next week, but until then, peace.